back again for video 2. Again, we're working on your research essay on social movements for Professor Griffin. And in the first video, we talked about the assignment, why you work through the library to get to the materials that you need, the types of materials you need. So now we're just going to go ahead and do some searches so you can get an idea of what that looks like for those of you that haven't used some of our systems from the library before. We're going to talk about evaluating what we're finding and then citing those sources in the MLA style. So let's dive into the library homepage. We hover over, as I said in the first video, student resources from the school's homepage, and then select library. That's going to take us to the library homepage. And today I am going to show you one of two ways to get into the research databases. Because you're looking at social movements, you're going to be using probably a lot of different types of databases. Databases that look at sociology, look at history, look at politics, look at all kinds of different things. So different databases have different focuses on different topics. And we could go to our big listing of research databases by clicking on the research databases button. And you can do that on your own time and kind of explore what you find there. But a way of going ahead and searching a ton of different databases at the same time is using the search box on the library homepage, which we call OneSearch. So I'm going to go ahead and put, I'm going to go with farm workers as my example, farm workers movement. And remember, in that first video, we talked about the great section on the essay guidelines that Professor Griffin gave you with the questions. And I'm going to go ahead and open that up so that'll return to our memory banks. And it was the questions to address your research about your social movement. And this is where I talked about it's a great source to pull in keywords to answer these questions. So for example, if I wanted to look at farm workers movement, I could plug in farm workers movement and boycotting, farm workers movement and picketing. So again, that's in the first video where I talked about pulling out phrases and keywords from these questions that you could plug into your actual search to try to find material to answer those questions. So really handy part of your essay prompt. So let me dive back in here to the home page. So I'm not going to add any of the keywords yet, the additional keywords. I'm going to just start out by searching for my movement itself, and that may work for you too. So let's just search. Again, OneSearch is the search box on the homepage of the library. It's going to take my search terms here, farm workers movement, and it's going to plug those into dozens of different databases and then pull the results into a single set of pages for me to review. So slowly but surely that will load up. And there we go. So we see here, the farm workers movement was a really big moment in labor history, California history, actually history all over the United States. So you can see here that quite a bit of writing has happened. We've got 94,579 results. So this is an example of topics. Some of you are going to have movements that happened in the past, well in the past, for example. And that will have given time to historians and other folks that explore that particular movement time to write books and write journal articles, those two types of resources, those scholarly resources you're going to be using. So some of your movements are going to be a little bit newer, and there might not be a ton of books written yet, maybe a few hundred articles written on your particular movement, but we'll be able to help you with that. If you do have trouble with your particular movement, you can always get help from a librarian, and I'll show you at the end here in a few minutes how to get that help. So let's just scroll through a couple of these results. So let's look at, for example, farm workers and the churches, the movement in California and Texas. So obviously that would touch on that movement and its relationship to the churches. If we wanted to open that up, that tells me that that is an ebook. I can tell because it says book above the title, and I know that if it's available online, that means it's electronic. So I can click on available online to open up that ebook. And because we're at home, we need to plug in our credentials, so your W number and your Los Rios password. And that should open up that ebook for me. And with a lot of our ebooks from this company called EBSCO, that's what this database provider is called, you're going to, for their particular ebooks, which is the majority of the ebooks that you're going to have access to from that particular company, you're going to have a toolbar at the top when you open up your ebook. You're going to have the table of contents over here on the left-hand side. Let me see if I can scroll down a little bit here. Let me move me out of the way here. So you can see here, we can open up the table of contents before we dive in. We could see here the sections on California if we wanted to focus on California. And it looks like it talks about, it's broken it up into time periods. You can also, if you were looking for something very specific, maybe we want to look for Cesar Chavez, we could go into the index of that book. And then we could scroll through that index until we got to the particular topic, in this case, a person that I want to find. And going to be right there. So it begins on this column, but if we scroll up to the top, there's much more than that. Oops. Much more than that one page that we're seeing there, because it continues over on this other column here. So we can see all of this talks about Cesar Chavez and the farm workers movement. So just like with a print book, you've got the table of contents to get an idea what's inside of it. And then you've got a much more thorough index where you could look at events and people's names and places, etc., and see what part of the book you're going to find that information in. Again, the toolbar for the most of the ebooks you're going to be finding, or it's going to be at the top of the page. And vitally, here's the cite button. That's what you're going to use to get that MLA citation for your works cited page. So I'm going to click on that. And it's going to be a little pop-up at the top of the screen here. It's usually a slightly kind of a gray color. And if we scroll down here through the different styles, we'll get to MLA. And we would then grab from the author's last name all the way to the period at the end of that MLA citation, copy that, and paste that into our works cited page. And we'll cover MLA a little bit more in a few minutes. So once you've got that, you can X out of that if you want to get back to the book itself. That will leave that little pop-up behind, and you're back to your particular book that we are looking at. So that's what most of the ebooks are going to look like for you. Let's close that ebook, and let's look at a journal article. So another thing I do want to show you before we actually dive into the journal article is there are ways to limit over here on the left side that says filter results. So you can filter down your results to really specific things. So we could just click on the books and we'd have 1,225 books to look through. We could also click on scholarly journals up here at the top, which I'm going to do in just a second. Remember that we want to use scholarly sources for Professor Griffin's assignment. So that's going to be the scholarly journal articles and books written by experts in the field. So when it comes to the books, you can just grab the author's last name and, in fact, just Google them, and you could find out, do they teach around this particular subject? Are they a professional in this particular subject? So you can find out just by Googling the person, kind of what their background is, and to see if they're have some expertise in what they're writing about. With the journal articles, it often will actually have the author's name and their credentials, what they do, etc. So let's actually go into the journal articles now. And I'm going to move myself out of the way. So for example, again, here's one looking at Texas. Texas and California were major places where the farm labor movement was strong. So what we can do here is, again, this is a journal article because we've limited just to journals. So all 38,000 plus of these results are going to be journal articles. I'm going to click Available Online to open it up like we did with the ebook. And that will load up. And gives us this first page. Sometimes it won't lead directly to the article. It'll give you more publishing information about the journal that it came from, the subjects that it covers, etc. So when you open up, when you click Available Online and you don't get right to the journal, just look where it says full text. It might be somewhere towards the bottom of the screen. In this case, it's over here on the left-hand side, and that'll actually open up the article itself. So here we can see that the author, Wendy Jepson, is a Texas A&M University professor in the Department of Geography. So we've got that person's credentials there. We've got them letting us know here, she is letting us know what she's going to write about, a little summary or abstract here. This paper studies the farm workers' unionization experience and historical development. So get an idea of what the article is going to be about, and then the intro begins. So with a lot of the journal articles, you're usually going to have your menu, your toolbar on the right or left-hand side as opposed to the top that we saw with the ebooks. So here we do have our toolbar. We have a little piece of paper icon, and if we hover over that, the word cite will pop up. So let me move myself out of the way again so you can definitely see that. So if we click that little piece of paper icon, again, we'll get our pop-up with the different styles of citation, and we'll scroll down until we get to MLA. Really importantly, this has 2 lines in it. So anytime you have more than a single line with MLA, you're going to make sure that that is double spaced. So we definitely, once we cut and paste this into our works cited page for Professor Griffin, be sure to double space that. We want to see double spacing in all MLA citations. So let's bounce out of that. One other thing that you'll find in both the ebooks and the journal articles is it'll either say permalink or there'll be a little chain that then if you hover over it says permalink. That's a great way if you want to make sure you're on track with Professor Griffin. You know, are these articles, do they look like they're focusing on what I'm trying to do here? Is this the kind of material you're wanting me to use? You can just click on permalink. You'll get a little pop-up up top, and you can copy that permalink. And so you could put together an email to Professor Griffin, you know, here's 2 or 3 articles that I found that I think are useful. Am I on the right track? And you can just plug in those permalinks, and that way Professor Griffin can just click that, and that will launch her straight to that article or straight to that ebook. So that's a really good, quick way to share material with your professor. If you're ever working in a group assignment, it's a great way to share materials with the folks in your group too. So let's get out of there. So again, the evaluating the material, you're really doing 2 things. You're evaluating, is this article, is a chapter in this book useful to answering some of the questions from my assignment prompt or some other aspect of what I'm trying to do? Or is it just sort of not really connected, or there's not enough information here, and do I need to move on and look for something else? So you're evaluating the usefulness of the item you're looking at for what you're doing in the assignment. And then you're also evaluating the expertise of the author. Is this a person that was, say, for a social movement, someone that was a leader or heavily involved in it, and they're writing about their experiences? That would be someone that has expertise in what happened with that movement because they were a part of it. Or you could look at, as we saw the professor here, Wendy Jepson, who's a professor at Texas A&M Department of Geography, writing about the movement in South Texas from 1966 on. So that would be an expert that studies that particular topic and writes about it. And again, you can always double check by Googling that person. If it is someone in academic institutions, you'll often then be able to find their website for the school they teach at. And then that will often list all their publications, their books, and their journal articles that they've written. And then you can really get an idea, wow, okay, this person has written a book and 20 or 30 journal articles on this issue. I think we've got somebody here that has done extensive analysis of this topic. So this is going to be a good go-to for me for expert analysis. So that's evaluating your resources. One last thing I did want to add before we move on to getting help from librarians is I'm going to go back to your guidelines again. And so I do want you to rely on pulling phrases and keywords from the questions that Professor Griffin supplied, but also think of other words too. Don't solely just use this as your source of your keywords. A lot of the things that are talked about here are strategies or techniques of a social movement. So that's an example of me looking at this, thinking about the topic, and thinking, are there other keywords? Might I plug in farm workers movement strategy or strategies? And then that could give me some great articles or book chapters on some of the strategies they used. And again, a lot of these things that we see in the questions are strategies or techniques that are used by movements. So again, use this great set of questions your professors provided you. This is really helpful, but also think about other words that might represent aspects of your topic that you want to explore, and then plug that in with your alongside the name of your movement. So let's talk about getting help from the librarians. So let me move myself out of the way again. So when you're doing searches in OneSearch, when you get to your result page where we are here, you're always going to see an Ask a Librarian little purple icon. That is a 24/7 chat service that we are a part of. If you want to work with a librarian from Folsom and you want to click on that Ask a Librarian icon there for a chat with one of us, you can get a hold of us 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Friday. But if you're doing your research outside of those kind of regular weekly business hours, there are librarians around the world that can even help you in the middle of the night. So you will often, if you click on that and it's the middle of the night or early in the morning, you'll be working with folks from New York, from England, from Australia, New Zealand. So we've just added this since January, and it's really handy because it allows you to have research help no matter what time of the day or night that you're working on your assignment. Again, your local librarians at Folsom are going to know the assignments better and definitely know the resources that we have. So if you can get help during those 8 to 8 Monday through Thursday or 8 to 5 on Friday, that's probably going to be kind of the highest quality and quickest way for you to use chat to get to good resources on your topic. But again, there are qualified professional librarians that will answer your chat request anytime 24/7, and they will have access to our databases so they could do searches alongside you and help you get to material that way too. One other way I want to show you, if we go back to the home page to get some help one-on-one from a librarian, is if we hit this research button here, so library homepage, left side menu, research, and I am going to click on that. Actually, I'm not going to click on the drop down, and that will take us to our research page, which talks a little more about the databases, about guides, which your professor is going to have a guide that I've created where you're actually watching this video now. And so you'll be able to work through your guide. I'll show you how to get there in just a second. But what I want to show you here is the research appointment. So if you do want to have more than just a brief chat and you maybe want to share screens or want a librarian to kind of walk you through some searches and spend some time together on your particular topic one-on-one, you can schedule a 30-minute research appointment just by clicking Make an Appointment. So if you want to do more than chat, want to have at least 30 minutes with an individual librarian, these appointments will be with librarians in Los Rios, from Folsom Lake College. So again, you'll have that help and that expertise from somebody that really knows the collection. Just hit Make an Appointment and fill out this form. I'm just going to scroll down here. You're going to give us a couple dates and times. Again, it's going to be between 8 and 8 Monday through Thursday and 8 to 5 on Friday, because that's when your Folsom librarians are working. And then you'll hit Make an Appointment. So fill out the form, especially if you give us well, you're going to be coming in from Professor Griffin, but it might not be me that helps you, that you make your appointment with, the person that contacts you. So be sure to put Professor Griffin and a description of what you're working on. And then hit make an appointment. And then what we'll do is we'll contact you, and we'll contact you with a verification of the day and time we're going to meet, and with a link to Zoom, so we can have a Zoom session where, again, we can share screens and things like that. Let's see, what else do we want to cover? Oh, getting to your research guide. So I'm about to plug these videos into your research guide, so you'll be able, and again, you'll be coming into this video through the research guide. But in the future, research guides are right here. You just click on that. It's going to give you a list of guides by subject, and let's move me out of the way again. There we go. And so we would scroll down to English. We'd click on English, and we would find Professor Griffin's research guide for your class for English Writing 300. If I click on that, you'll see there's an awful lot, and there's Griffin right there. So you want to be sure you click on your research guide, because that's going to be the one that's going to contain this video, for example, but also contain other tips and techniques for your particular assignment. This is also a place where you can go where you're going to be able to find out a lot more about MLA citation and how to lay your paper out in MLA style. That will be part of your research guide too. And last thing I want to show you is we do have a page, the citation help page here, which is very extensive, has a MLA and other styles. So if we click on that, we've got a little PDF guide, little few pages that show you how to lay your paper out and how to make sure your citations are correctly formatted. There's also, many of you probably have heard of the online writing lab at Purdue, the OWL. If you Google MLA citations, it's usually the top result. So we link there because it's one of the best website-based help you can get with MLA and other citation styles. So again, citation help is just right underneath the OneSearch search box, underneath the research guides button. So please do, if I scroll down here, we can see, or scroll up here and move, we can see the Ask a Librarian chat. So again, if you need immediate help in a chat setting, hit that icon and you'll have a librarian to work with. And if you want to schedule something to actually have some time with a librarian from Folsom, you can hit research up here and schedule a research appointment. So look forward to working with you, and hope you have a great second half to your semester. Thanks.